I want to build my platform as a writer because from everything I've read, if I want my books to be bought and read, a platform is essential. This was a really interesting and powerful survey response that I just submitted to my audience. And so in today's episode of The Written Compass, I want to get into what is your author platform. What does that mean? How do you create one? And of course, we're going to do it very embodied and from an aligned place. So I'm so glad you're here. Let's get started. Recently, I put out a survey to my audience via email and was simply just asking for one, just to check in to see what's showing up for people, what's going on in their writing journey, and then what were some things they were trying to work on and achieve in the next 6 months to a year so that I could provide content that would inform my content and maybe how I can support them through the email, through this thing like the podcast, social media, all the good stuff. And so one thing that popped up in one of their responses is the idea of building a platform, specifically a platform for themselves as a writer. And the idea that they were sharing is that there's no way that people are going to buy my book, see my writing, if I don't have this author platform. I'm using air quotes here. So I wanted to use a podcast episode to really talk about this because one, there's a big part of me as a business owner that's like, yeah, you need to be out there. You need to be sharing things. You need to have a quote platform, right? And the embodied part of me, the embodied writing coach part of me, the body mind coach goes, and gets heavy. So I'm curious how you feel when you think of creating your platform or being seen when it comes to your writing and your book. So in today's episode, I just want to unpack this a little bit and kind of present more questions than solutions because I am not a marketing expert in any way, shape, or form. And I have a business and I have sold books before and definitely have experience in this area. So first, what do we even mean when it comes to the idea of an author platform? So the basic is just that you've got a space out there or spaces out there where people are following you. So in the traditional publishing world, one of the things that entices someone to accept your manuscript, your book for potential publication is how large your audience is, how large your following is. And oftentimes authors need to prove what their following is. So on a platform like Instagram, they're looking at if you have 5K plus followers. And what's interesting about that to me is the assumption, what's the assumption that's happening there, right? Is like, okay, they have 5,000 to 10,000 followers. So the little mathematical formula that we come up with is they're going to have a higher likelihood of people who will be willing to buy their book, i.e. make sales, i.e. make money for us. And then, we'll hopefully be able to pay you author as well, right? And the same goes, like we could apply the same thing, whether you're self-publishing or doing the hybrid publishing, whatever the case may be. And I just want to lean in a little bit because I think there's a big difference between trying to connect with people in order to have genuine connections and using social media to do that from an aligned place versus adding followers, building email lists just to get the numbers up, right? Like even as I say that, I can feel a difference in my own body. The first feels exciting, when I think of connecting with people and sharing my work and having conversations around the writing that I'm doing, that excites me. When I think of connecting with people just to add numbers and have that number list, that follower list just tick up. I mean, right now my mouth just kind of paused and my jaw sort of went sideways. It doesn't feel good. It feels very cranial brain, very not in my heart, not in my gut, not in my soul. So I'm curious how it feels for you. And so what I want to offer is to really get aligned with what is going to feel most aligned for you, what is going to feel like you are truly stepping forward and sharing your work and creating your quote platform from a place that serves you. One of my good friends and coaches, Laura Wick, talks about it's not about building the right business. It's about building the right business for you, the right audience number, the right number of clients, et cetera, for you, for the life that you want to lead. Because if I have 5,000 followers, but I'm not connected to those people, why would they want to buy my book? But if I have 500 and I'm connected to each and every one of them, right? They're going to want to and be more likely to support me and to learn from me to, through whatever book I'm sharing and to read those words. So it's just an interesting thing to start to feel into when it comes to what is your author platform and how do we build it? But I do have some things that I think can support people in just feeling their way forward into what the aligned pathway is for them. So first, I think just checking in, and I always close my eyes, I'm doing it now, checking in to say, what am I trying to do here? What is the overall intention? What do I hope to happen at the end of this, whatever pathway that I'm on? So say I'm starting to write my book and I want to start to connect with people about that. So say your goal is, I want to sell my book. I want people to buy my book. Great, right? And then how are you going to feel when you start to see that people have bought your book? And I'll just share from personal experience, my book that is currently available, a little planning guide. This is the year you write your book. I published that at the beginning of 2022. And it was amazing when I started to just lightly put it out on social media. Hey, this is available. I'm excited. I did a workshop on it, invited people to it, all that good stuff. And people were commenting and saying, got it, bought it. It's coming Tuesday, all the things like, oh my gosh, that was so exciting. And so how I felt was affirmed. I felt supported. And so I'm curious how you're going to feel when people start to buy your book and you start to see, let's get real, the sales numbers that show up on your dashboard on KDP or wherever you're publishing, traditional or self-publishing. And then let's backwards design it from there. So whatever that feeling is, how can we embody that feeling through every step of whatever will feel good to support that feeling in developing your platform and sharing what you're doing? So coming to the end of the process, the book is out there, right? And people are buying it. How's that going to feel? Then kind of before that, what would you love to see happening that will embody that feeling? So maybe I'm just sharing, Facebook Lives where I'm talking about the book and I'm talking about how I'm excited that I am, that it's getting ready to go officially live and be able to purchase, right? And then before that, what's going to be happening before that? Well, maybe I'm in the final cover design and editing parts of it. And maybe I'm feeling a little bit excited. It's not quite done. It's not quite ready. You're nervous, about finishing those final little pieces. And so maybe I'm sharing about that. Maybe I'm writing some posts. Maybe I'm sending emails about it. Maybe I'm sending links to my pre-order to get people excited, but yet be really honest and transparent of where I am in the process and sharing that with my audience. Your audience loves hearing about the behind the scenes, the sneak peek. I have a fellow coaching friend who does a backstage pass when she has her next book coming up. And that's a really cool process, right? So just taking those steps to kind of backwards design. And ultimately, it leads you to when you first start writing your book, what if you just shared what you're doing? I notice a lot of people when they sign up in our programs, our VIP or group level, this is the year I write my book programs, they often are reluctant to share. And so it makes sense that when we get closer to publication time, we feel this pressure all of a sudden to build this platform and we wind up just kind of doing it from maybe a little bit of a misaligned place because we haven't just been simply sharing along the way. So what is going to be the feeling that you have when people start to buy your book? And then starting to kind of backwards design from there. What are the ways that you can embody that feeling starting right now? If you are just starting your process or if you're in your editing revision phase, right? What would feel really good and aligned and light and just feel like you're connecting and you're sharing? So I think author platforms are really about connection and really about sharing and not so much about numbers. So I'm curious what feels most aligned for you. As always, I want to continue the conversation. So be sure to head over to Instagram and share this episode, share your thoughts, and tag me at Shana Hartman _. Thanks so much for joining me today. And I look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of The Written Compass. If you are loving this content, then please share this episode and tag me on Instagram at ShaynaHartman_. And if you're wondering how you can implement the ideas I share here and really begin creating your amazing book, I want to connect with you even more. Head over to shaynahartman.com/thewrittencompass to learn even more about not only writing your book, but truly experiencing your words.